Welcome to the Wedding Songs Podcast, featuring newly released songs you need to know and the tried and true classics. Get song ideas from the time guests arrive until the last dance of the reception. And now your host, Matt Campbell, founder of MyWeddingSongs.com.
Welcome, everybody, to the Wedding Songs Podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, Jay Murch, all the way from New Jersey. We're going to be talking about not only DJing, but having a musician with the DJ. Welcome to the show, Jay.
What's up? What's up? How you doing?
Awesome. I love your energy. I love your passion. I'm going to ask the question I ask everybody is, can you tell everybody a little bit about your most memorable wedding moment?
Two come to mind right off the bat, and not just so they're random stories, but they're lessons for everyone. I would say the first one, it was a lesson for me in like preparedness and fully taking advantage of opportunities when they're presented or being ready to take advantage of opportunities. The first one was an accidental wedding in Cancun. Actually, I wasn't supposed to be there DJing this wedding. I was just there as a guest with a friend of the bride and groom who was a friend of a friend. They had the wedding on the beach. It was at a resort, so to speak. And come to find out, the reception was just going to be on this kind of balcony overlooking the water, but there was no music whatsoever. Like they had prepared nothing. But some of my friends that I went down there with knew I was kind of into DJing. And at the time, I had just kind of started out. So they had kind of coerced me into talking to the ceremony DJ who was there just to do ceremony sound, renting a speaker off this guy for an astronomical price. By the way, they knew we were just Americans waiting to be taken advantage of. I ran up to my hotel room to grab my iPad because I knew I had most of my playlist already situated on Spotify, and came back downstairs, plugged in my iPad. Once dinner was done, I just started playing off of my crate for what I had called the wedding bangers. And lo and behold, the first song I drop on, people leave their tables, everyone's dancing. I'm just going literally off of Spotify, no DJ software at the time, song from song. Long story short, that wedding, that impromptu DJing that wedding led to so many more events afterwards. It led to me doing that couple's reception party inside of the US when they came back to the US, and the father of that bride actually tipped me something crazy like $300 as a thank you for, from what he said, like saving or making his daughter's day. They had nothing planned, and here I come in mistakenly prepared to DJ a wedding in another country where I wasn't expecting to do that at all. All right. And the second, I would say, most memorable moment is a lesson for me in like not preparedness, but I say presence and purpose and peace. That was my wedding from 2 years ago. It was up North Jersey. It was actually in a summer camp. The couple had took over a summer camp. I wouldn't say it was like a Jewish summer camp or something like that, but it was overlooking the Delaware River. And I was down there setting up for ceremony, just me on the river. The wedding party was over in the summer camp. And by the way, they had actually rented out the summer camp for the whole week before. So they were doing summer camp games like flag football and all kinds of little things you would do at a summer camp, which is really cool, like totally unique type of wedding. But I'm down to ceremony area, which is on the river and backdrop to rolling hills with green trees and forest. And I'm just like, I had a moment where I'm just like, wow, like I'm a DJ and this is what I do. I'm working right now. So I just became super aware of the opportunity I had in front of me and just wanted to be present in that moment, and realized I was definitely on my purpose there as well. I got a lot of peace out of that. Those are my two most memorable wedding moments.
You're giving me goosebumps now. Everybody has those moments where you're actually paid to do this. It's such a wonderful moment they experience.
Totally agree. Those were just eye-opening for me. Ever since then, every wedding I do, I take a moment to breathe and take in, like, I'm really grateful to be here, and every wedding is a new experience and a chance to connect and be grateful and thankful.
Absolutely. Well, I'm thankful you're here on the show. So why don't you tell everybody next a little bit about you and your company?
Yeah, On the Beat FX is a collective, I like to call it a creative collective of DJs and musicians in the New Jersey area. So we're based in New Jersey. We service mostly New York City and Philadelphia and Pennsylvania and New York as a whole as well. But we're all up and down the Eastern Seaboard here, from Virginia to Florida. We focus a lot on DJ musician fusion, and that's the combining of live instruments into a DJ set. That could be saxophonist, electric violinist, drummers, guitarists, trumpet players, sometimes all of them together on top of a traditional DJ set to kind of liven things up and bring really great energy to what is a typical recorded session.
How long do you think fusion DJs have been around?
I'm not sure. I think in some capacity, it's always been around. The musicians have always played on top of recorded music. If you've ever gone to a live show, especially like a hip hop show, I'm thinking off the top of my head, Jay-Z or J. Cole, they'll always have some combination of a DJ on stage with live instrumentation as well. And that perspective, and I'm thinking about this for the first time. Great question, Matt. I think it's been around for a while, and just the live entertainment aspect of things, like the live show aspects of things, like going to see a concert. We're kind of just now bringing it to the private events industry, as many things like sparklers and LED screens are coming to the private event industry. And all these things were first in the concert space. Now they're coming to the smaller private events industry as well, which is pretty cool.
Everybody sees it online and then they want that for their weddings.
Yeah. Or you see it as a DJ or an entrepreneur and you're just like, well, how can I bring that into my market? Like, how can I replicate that? And how can I show that to my clients or my potential clients as something new and different, just as an added benefit?
You're saying that, and I've seen videos of weddings where the DJ's working with drummers, they're working with saxophonists. Are there other instruments that you commonly see or that you work with?
I would say those are the most common at the moment. I haven't seen, well, I can't say that. I was going to say I haven't seen like a pianist and DJ, but there are mobile piano, guitar looking things. I'm not sure what the technical term for that instrument is, but I'm sure that's happened as well. But sax, electric violin, trumpet, piano, and percussionists and drummers, those are two separate things. I've seen a lot of those combinations.
I could see the flamenco guitarist getting into the music.
Coming to a wedding near you soon.
Are specific musicians more in demand from couples that are hiring you?
I mean, yeah, it's really all over the board, I would say. What's interesting is that we have two types of couples that come in. One, of course, one side has never seen fusion before, and the other has seen it at some wedding, and they are looking to book us because we specifically offer that. Both of those couples, they always are asking for our recommendations on which musicians they should have for their day, which is really cool because they value our input. They know they want live instrumentation, or we've shown them a video or they've seen something on our website for the first time, and they know they want that experience. They're just not sure of all the musicians that are available. Like you just asked, which ones are the best for them. I guess that's a lesson in knowing your client first and foremost, and knowing their overall arching vision for the day. It's important that you ask them what their style of music is and their expectations on what they want to hear, because there's certain musicians that match better with certain music genres. If we're talking EDM, the electric violinist is going to shine the most on EDM tracks. Sure, the sax would do great as well, but if we're talking like hip hop and R&B, you're not going to want to use a violinist. Even though we have done hip hop violin sets before, it is super dope. If you're looking more into R&B, hip hop, or even Afro beats, things like that, trumpet and saxophone is going to be an even better option. And if you're more of a Latin couple, then drums and percussion, all right, if you have to only pick one musician, having a drummer and percussion are going to be some of the best options for those types of musics and genres. So, having a good idea what your couple wants, their vision for the day, what they expect, and the type of music that they normally listen to and party to, that really dictates what type of musicians that's going to pair well with them.
That's a great golden nugget right there of matching your music to your musicians. And I think that that's one of the challenges that you have. It's a plus and a minus, where you have to educate your couples because it's not well known yet. Right. But you're there as this is really taking off. So you should be really known for being a fusion DJ service company. That's awesome. When you're working with the musicians as the DJ, do you provide a predetermined set list to the musician so that way they know what to expect and you know what to expect?
I would say there are moments during, if we're talking a wedding here, there are moments where we do go in with something pre-planned already. I would say like during the dinner is a really key moment where it's a premium time where we have most of the guests' attention. Everyone's still quiet. They're not super buzzed yet. You know what I mean? They've already caught up with everyone during cocktail hour, so the talking has kind of died off at that point. So they're looking for something to entertain themselves. So I always use dinner sessions during a wedding to kind of showcase the musicians. It's one of my favorite times of a wedding, to be honest with you. I'll go in before that wedding, probably a week or two before that wedding. Me and the musicians for that day will have a conversation. I'll look at what the couple has already requested. I think going back to the music and the vision that your client has, and I'll give the musicians probably 2 or 3 songs to play during dinner as a solo performance that will really mesh well and surprise the couple and really entertain the guests. I'll also take that moment and give requirements to the videographer if the couple already has one there. Also, a little gem for any DJ, especially if you're looking to broadcast and show your musician DJ fusion package. Tap in with the videographer and photographers that are already there for that couple's wedding. Pull them to the side, tell them what your vision is and what you need to have recorded. Offer them a little something, or throw them some coin at the end of the day. 10 out of 10 times this has worked in my favor. They're more than happy to do the extra work for you. Some even saying, just here, take it. Thanks for asking. Even if you're just curious enough to have a space for them to put their things and a spot for the videographer to plug in, you asking for some video at the end of the day is a lightweight work for them. Just tell them what you want. Be very clear on the scenes that you want to capture. Going back to that dinner, I'll have the videographers come in. I'll have the pre-planned set for the musicians that I'll know will showcase them to the best of their ability and really wow people. That dinner set, the reason why it's my favorite is because it's, for the most part, the first time the guests are experiencing the musicians. And so it's kind of dramatic and theatrical in that moment, because leading up to that, you've had the ceremony, the cocktail hour, which has been mostly recorded, grand entrances, which has been mostly played by the DJ. Then all of a sudden, the lights come down and we pause the ambient music that's been playing up until dinner, and a musician appears from the back into the front of the dance floor, and they just start their solo performance. It's kind of epic. It's always great seeing everyone's expression for the first time. They're not expecting it. For me, it's always exciting hearing that song, that live rendition and interpretation, how that musician's going to interpret that song live is always fun. And knowing that it's being recorded and I can show new couples it's always exciting as well. Then the next time they interact with the musicians are on the dance floor itself. This time they're more comfortable with it. To answer your question, for the dance set, there is no predetermined, or at least I don't personally do predetermined set list for the dance set as well. I prefer them just to improv on top of the existing music. For the musicians that I perform with most often, sometimes I do have some particular areas of a song where I'm just like, okay, I'm going to let you shine here. They'll do their little intro to a particular song, or there's a spot where they can do a solo that'll make them shine and kind of make a special moment. So those little things build over time. We're not pre-practicing or anything like that. I was talking to a DJ yesterday and he was kind of frustrated because he was looking for DJ musicians to partner with, but they all wanted to have themselves paid for a practice time, which I told them was totally appropriate. Like, that's their time, right? But no one wanted to, everyone just wanted to come in the day of and play along with the DJ, which I told them that's pretty normal. And that's on you to pick a musician who has the appropriate skills or skill set. The best advice I could give is, if you're looking for musicians as a DJ, search your local area through Instagram and through Google. If you can find a musician who has a wealth of content, video content on Instagram, you've hit the jackpot. If that musician is already improving on top of songs that you normally would DJ to, then that's a good indication they'll mix well with DJ musician fusion before you even play together. So I told him that these musicians, if they have got the skills to improv naturally, then there's no need for you to run practice sets with them at all. It was a different case when we met in Vegas for Wedding MBA and I was playing for the Hard Rock. We totally planned that set, but that was in a nightclub and we had some specific vision, but typically, no, it's all live. It's all off the cuff. as you would say.
Well, in MBA is a little bit different where you're performing in front of your peers. I think that that's so much more pressure.
That's a good point to tie that back into making sure you're prepared and taking full advantage of opportunities when they're presented. Like that room was full of planners and venue owners, and we really wanted to press upon them the full capability and the full spectrum of DJ musician fusion. So, the range of music that we had pre-planned, the spots where the violinist had solos and then I took part and did a few things, right? We wanted to show them the range and purpose of DJ musician fusion. And I think we accomplished that. I think we did pretty good.
Yeah, it was awesome. When couples hire a fusion DJ, do they just book you and then they get the musician added on, or do they have to have a contract with both of you?
Well, the way we run it is the client, they book the musicians through us. So we have a kind of pool of musicians that we can tap into. Now, there's a couple ways to run this gameplay. The way we run it in particular is we promise like a saxophone player, a trumpet player, a violinist. We don't promise any particular saxophonist or any particular by name trumpet player. This is something I might change going down in the future. But right now I do that because it's much more safer for me to, in the back end, say, I have Alan picked out as my saxophonist today, but a week out, Alan gets sick. I don't have to explain that to my client. They're still going to get, as they expected, a saxophone player at the end of the day. So they book us, they do get to pick their DJ, and they book a saxophonist as a musician, DJ musician fusion add-on.
And I think you're doing that quite well, where you're just offering that service, not that particular person. Kind of like some multi-op DJ companies will say, we're going to give you a good DJ to match your theme and your style of music. It's not going to be one specific DJ.
Yeah, I agree. And, again, like it might change in the future as we get more content on these musicians and we work with them more often. There might be couples that really do want a specific musician that we offer. So, that might change as people get more familiar with DJ fusion and they get familiar with our talent as well.
Yeah, I see in the future where you could have musicians on retainer.
Yeah, have you do
your company.
For sure.
Time for a quick break from the show to let you know about the Wedding Music Letter. Are you struggling to find the wedding songs that match your personality and music style? Are you having a hard time keeping up with the new wedding songs being released? Then subscribe today to the Wedding Music Letter by going to my website, myweddingsongs.com, and clicking on the Join Now button. Every Wednesday, you'll get song ideas to build your wedding playlists. On the last day of the month, you'll get all of the new wedding songs released from the prior month. So subscribe today and join over 7,000 other engaged couples and wedding pros by going to myweddingsongs.com and joining the Wedding Music Letter today. Now back to the show. I know you talked a little bit about this. Can you just describe, I get the feel of what it's like to have a fusion DJ during the dinner hour, during cocktail hour. Can you describe what the mood is like during the party time to have the DJ fusion with the musician? What's the vibe like during that party time?
During the party time, I describe it to my clients when they first see it as, of course, is the dance floor rocking with just a DJ? Absolutely. But when you add in that live musician, the energy kind of elevates and it adds new life to old songs as well. So a lot of the video I show my clients are of people being able to interact with the musicians on the dance floor because they're all out there. They're on wireless packs. It's not like a traditional band where there's a stage kind of separating you two. They're in the storm, so to speak. When the musicians are out and we're playing music, guests are much more actually quickly to gather on the dance floor to kind of interact with the musicians because they're out there already, so they're more comfortable. A lot of guests like to airplay musicians along with them as well. So we have got tons of video of air violinists and guitarists. If we have a drummer in the middle of the dance set, having guests interact with the drums and playing and tapping on the drums and having pictures of the bride and groom like come behind the percussion set and start banging on things. Guests love to see that. Obviously, the clients love that experience as well. And to that point, always, if you know a moment's going to happen or a particular song is going to cause a particular reaction on guests and the musicians, tap into your photographers, let them know like, hey, watch out for this, and tap into those videographers too. right? It's just an elevated experience all around, I would say. Never once a dull moment with the musicians on the dance floor.
Yeah, it's always one of those things where the wedding couple, we always say as DJs, if the wedding couple's not on the dance floor, it's really difficult sometimes not to get everybody else on the dance floor. If you have that musician that's on the dance floor, I think the barriers come down. It's like, oh yeah, we have to be out there.
Right, right. And not to steal the light of the show from the couple, but if they're not on the dance floor, which knock on wood is rare for us, or sometimes they take a break, at least have the musicians out there. They're essentially party starters, physical party starters.
That's awesome. Speaking of the musicians and the music sets, are you differing your sets? I'm sure you're basing your music on the desires of the couple, of course, but are you varying them based on the type of musician? Where let's say a saxophonist may be great with Earth, Wind, and Fire or September. Are you changing up your sets based on what musician it is?
I'm not changing up my sets based on the musician. I am, like I said before, I am recommending musicians based on the sets, based on what the client's looking to have, right? During that dinner kind of performance, that theatrical performance, I am selecting songs that will help that particular instrument shine, whatever instrumentation we have to utilize at that particular event. But the way I'm DJing does change a little bit. Me DJing by myself and me DJing with musicians is kind of different. And I tell DJs all the time, there's certain things you need to look out for to really deliver on the promise that you're giving to your client. When you're DJing with a musician, not only are you watching the dance floor, not only are you reading the crowd, but you're also watching that musician or musicians, right? You're reading that musician and you're communicating with that musician, or at least a good DJ working with the musicians should communicate with their musicians. To give you examples, oftentimes I'm giving my musicians the four fingers, which means, hey, in 4 bars, I'm leaving. So get ready. Whatever riff you're playing right now, we're about to transition, which is good for them because the next song might have a major key change. Whatever riff they're going on right now, it may really clash with the next song that's about to happen. And to that point, as a DJ, you don't need to know or be super strict on your key changes, but be aware of them. I forget what the color wheel is called, but be aware if you're about to change into a song with a significant key change, you should probably let your musician know as well. If there's a song where they should cut out, giving them the stop, the heads up. Still, if there's a song that they would shine on, giving them a hand signal to say, like, this is your moment. You also have a better bird's eye view of the dance floor. So if the bride and groom's over there and your trumpet player is on the right side, just tell them. It creates better photos at the end of the day. It creates better moments just all around communicating with that musician. So it does take away from the DJ's performance. But again, since they're having that musician on top of everything gets elevated as a whole. So it's a lot to take in, and I don't want to discourage anyone. I wouldn't recommend adding a musician if you're doing weddings for the first time or the first few times, or you haven't done a lot of live performances. But if you're comfortable up there, if you already understand the storm that's happening during any typical wedding dance floor, along with people still coming up to you and communicating to them whatever drunken desires they have, then yeah, you can add a musician and just talk to them ahead of time about hand signals. You'll get better over time communicating with musicians and knowing when to tell them what's happening. The way you mix too, I'm not slamming into songs as sometimes I would if it were just me. For theatrical, what's the word I'm looking for? Like for theatrical effect, I won't just drop into a song or do a left turn without letting my musicians know, because it could ruin the moment as well, right? If I have a really funny turn down for what into Careless Whispers moment, total left turn, I don't want that musician continuing to play. I want silence for a second. Letting your musicians know that and making sure you're aware of what they're doing in that moment, making sure your transitions have extra runway, or at least I prefer to have extra runway during my transitions. So it gives my musicians time to figure out the key. Pro musicians, their improv skills count on being able to hear the song that's coming up and playing. And no matter how fast they are, they still need to hear a little bit of it to pick up on what key that song is in and the rhythms as well. So I always give my songs a little bit more extra runway than I would if I were just playing by myself. I do lots of the mixing is a little bit more quicker, I would say, just for me.
That's a great scenario that you gave, just working in the teamwork that's required just to work with the musician, because the musician could be playing their song and not looking at you, and you're giving the I call the 4 seconds. Okay, you got 4 seconds. We're transitioning. If they're not looking at you, then they're not going to know that that's what's happening. Or maybe
Yeah.
you put up a fist and, okay, that means that I'm slamming into a new song. You got to be ready
There
for
you
it.
go.
If they're
Right.
not looking at you, they're not going to know that that's about to happen. Great
Right. And it's
teamwork.
not the worst thing in the world if
Right.
they don't, these are professionals, but you just want to make things as smooth as possible. And using those hand signals, which is something I picked up. I grew up in the church, right? So as a church musician, and that's how we always communicated. Lots of hand signals all the time. So that's kind of what it's passed down to during my sets at weddings and private shows, is communicating with the musicians in that way, just to make everything more smoother at the end of the day. The smoother, the better.
That's a great transition to what I wanted to ask next is, are there any drawbacks to having the Fusion DJ at a reception?
To keep it short, just what I said, it's just there's no drawbacks for the client. There's just so many benefits to them and their guests and the experience that they're going to have and want to have. The only drawbacks is for the DJ, right? And the DJ and or audio engineer as well. As a DJ, if you're the one primarily doing the sound mixing, aside from mixing music, you're going to have to be familiar with the different types of equipment instruments need to be projected over your sound system wirelessly as well. The different connections a violin and guitar takes, tuning those things, the appropriate amount of reverb those instruments need per instrument and per time of that night as well. A sax may need more reverb during our dinner performance and less during the dance performance. Drummers need different types of microphones and different types of compression on that microphone as well to make them sound good. So understanding not only what makes you sound good, but makes those musicians sound good, that's something DJs need to consider in their sets, and so that they can have those musicians better perform at the end of the day.
Well,
So yeah, that's
I
it.
think exactly what you're saying then, that's why you can't have a beginner DJ, because you not only
Yeah.
have to DJ, you have to be a sound engineer, and
Mm.
not everybody is going to know, oh, the saxophonist is front of the speaker and now I'm getting feedback. What's going on? Yeah, you have to be
Right.
that sound engineer of knowing musicians.
Right. Or that saxophonist, it sounds really flat. I just don't know why. It doesn't sound very juicy and filling. Like, what do I need to EQ here? All that together. Absolutely. I totally agree.
Well, that's why it's a premium service, I think. So
Right.
speaking of that, is there any particular type of couple that's hiring this type of service?
I would say couples, like I said in the beginning, like there's two types of couples, the ones who've seen it and the ones who haven't. The type of couples who end up booking it are the ones where like music is the most important thing for them on their day, which is all of our, thank God for marketing, all of our couples, music is really important to them. It's not a second thing. They're not giving us a playlist and just stick to our playlist. We don't get those types of clients, thank God. So music is super important for them when they're the couples that end up booking DJ musician fusion. I would also say the couples that end up booking are looking to differentiate themselves from what they've seen already at weddings, what they've seen at their friends' weddings, and they're just looking to have fun and to party at the end of the day. If it's more important for the couple to have a cigar bar and for them to spend all night out there, that's super dope for them. They're just not the one probably looking for fusion. It's an expensive add-on. They're probably going to want to experience it. But again, I can't stress enough. It's so dope. I have a lot of clients who tell us their most common statement is, yeah, we know if we were going to spend money on our wedding, the number one thing we're going to spend money on was the DJ and the music. And I know right there, that's a good candidate right there to pitch fusion, because they get it at the end of the day. They get it.
So because we're the Wedding Songs podcast, I have to ask you, are you seeing any music trends or popular songs in your area?
Oh, that's a good question. I wish I prepared for that. Music trends in particular, songs, I would say Afro beats. And actually, any African music is really making waves. I think Afro beats and specifically Amapiano, which is a African house type of music or genre, is really making headwaves, right? I wouldn't be surprised if soon we book certain weddings where that's all they want for either dinner or even dance. It's just Afro house or Afro beats in the whole. There's a lot of people in the industry saying that it will probably eclipse hip hop, which is, you know, the number one genre of music right now in terms of what's being played. So all consistently always trying to catch up in that specific genre of music because it's sneaking into places where you're listening to it and you're just like, you don't even know this is Afro beats or Afro house or Amapiano or something like that. So yeah, number one, first and foremost, that. And of course, Latin music has definitely also been making headways, whether that be even Shakira making a comeback or Bad Bunny also popping up in places, really just increasing, expanding the industry there. So yeah, international music in terms of African and Latin, those are what I see on the horizon of being like the next big thing in music for sure, for sure.
I totally agree. Even if you look at the charts right now, you see artists like Thames and the song Water is blowing up right now.
What, literally playing in my head right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. So just to put you on the spot a little bit, if somebody comes up and requests that type of music, who are some of your favorite artists right now?
Like you said, Thames, of course, shout out to the Latin artists, Bad Bunny and Shakira as well. I would say for Amapiano, it's for me, I'm still trying to remember like all the artists that encompass Amapiano as a whole. Like I'm really bad with names when it comes to that, unfortunately. I want to say Davido is my number one. Anything by Davido, I love. He's just a phenomenal artist. Kid, I would say number two. Who else? Oh, Rima. And people would probably shoot me down if I don't mention Burner Boy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Burna Boy has to be in this topic of conversation as well. And there's one guy who's super funny. If anyone listening to this, look up Costa Twitch. I might have mispronounced his name, but Costa Twitch. He's this guy, he's this African guy, white guy, and he does a lot of like Amapiano. And I want to say the song name is Big Flex. No, it's Superstar. One of my most favorite Amapiano songs by far.
Very cool. You know everybody's going to be on their phones checking this music out because I agree it's blowing up. I think that it really started with CK's song Na 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 and all that. I think it came out in like 2019 is when it really took off. I think since that song came out, the Afro beats really came to shine on the charts for sure.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what too? Shout out to TikTok that you want to G with the big boys. You remember that? And then Shaq did a TikTok to that particular song and kind of really blew up at that point. But I feel like that was the point where the masses kind of got this taste of Afro beats as well. Right.
Good point. Good point. Is there anything that we didn't cover today that we didn't cover about fusion music DJs and in general fusion DJs?
Pay your musicians well as if you would want to be paid. Okay. They're artists just like us. They're creatives and, you know, they deserve to make a living and support their families. Nothing gives me more pleasure than sending my musicians home knowing they're getting what they're worth and they're feeding their families, and I'm supporting a community at the end of the day, parallel to my own.
Awesome. So to close it out then, can you tell everybody how they can contact you and find you?
Yeah, DJ Jay Murch, DJ JayMurch on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, the metaverse. Just kidding, not the metaverse, but yeah, you can find me there. Shoot me a DM if you have any questions on Fusion or anything else you see that I've offered as well. Happy to help.
And just to hit it home too, the name of the company is On the Beat FX.
On the Beat FX, telling love stories through music.
Love it. There you have it. Stay tuned for our next episode with another wedding professional. Thanks for listening and have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Wedding Songs Podcast. Never miss a future episode. Subscribe today to our podcast. Follow us on Facebook at My Wedding Songs and send us a message about playlists you would like covered.